This is not just a dumb idea. This is a cocktail of stupid.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel. I am Teresa. Welcome to our weekend show of Cocoon Cast, where we deep dive into movies and discuss all things cinema.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. Today we'll be discussing the movie What Happens Later.
And we have some scabby news.
If you thought HBO scabbing was bad, wait till you hear about the sock puppets.
Let's get started.
Willow and Bill used to be in the relationship of their dreams, but it ended as a nightmare, causing them to go their separate ways. After a snowstorm causes both of their flights to be canceled and end up in the same airport together for the first time in 20 years, they start to find the courage to ask each other, where did it really go wrong? And could it go right again for good?
I know for me, I was a little apprehensive. Meg Ryan was directing this movie, and her last directorial debut was 2015.
That was Ithaca, right?
That was Ithaca. Didn't do terribly well. I don't dislike Meg Ryan, but I like her more as an actress, and the directing piece gave me pause. So I really wasn't sure if I wanted to see this movie.
I was interested to see this movie because of Meg Ryan being older, and there's so little rom-coms targeted towards an older audience. It kind of feels like a young person's game. The younger and more attractive you are, the more likely you are to land in a rom-com.
I laugh. I'm older than you, clearly. And I was like, I don't know if I want to see it. And you're like, hey, let's go see it. We've seen the trailer. Oh, this looks great. I can't wait to see it. I'm like, wait a minute. Shouldn't I be the one? But I also know you grew up watching a lot of Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks, rom-com, Goodwill for Meg Ryan out of the gate for you.
When Harry Met Sally is on repeat in our house.
Oh, yeah. Billy Crystal. No, and she is great at the rom-com. She is, Miss Rom-Com. But I don't know, David Duchovny, back in the day, right, the box and I, your uncle, we used to watch X-Files. I believe it was on Friday night. We would watch this, and I'm thinking, X-Files meets America's Sweetheart in an airport with a talking monitor.
Attention, Boston and Austin passengers. Those flights have been delayed until further notice.
Just those two flights?
Just us.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
The chemistry between the two of them, I just wasn't convinced. And every time we would see a trailer.
Hello, Wilhelmina.
Hello, William.
How have you been?
Well, for the last 20 years,
25, maybe.
I've been 49 forever and ever and ever.
Wow, lucky you. I feel like I've been in my 50s since my 20s.
That's so true.
You don't have to agree with me.
No joke. I'm like, I don't know. And then I kept forgetting the name of the movie every time we talked. I'm like, it's what happened before, what happened after, what did they do? And then it was like, no, what happened later? I forgot it enough. I was kind of concerned about myself going, maybe this isn't the movie I'm super excited about this time.
It was also really funny, too. We went into our screening and somebody else had forgotten the title of the movie. They're kind of confused, so maybe the marketing can step that up a little bit.
Well, it just doesn't roll off the tongue.
I'd be curious to see if anybody else in our cinema community was having this problem with this movie. Comment below, too. What's your alternate title for this movie?
Oh, wow. Do I get to comment?
Yes, you totally do. I see you in our comment section.
I was going to say, I lead the comment charge. But it just was one of those things where I wanted to be excited, but just true confession, I wasn't excited. Meg Ryan directing. Like I said, her last attempt was not great. Even with Tom Hanks in it, it still was like, ooh, that's not so great. The screenplay seemed somewhat intriguing, meaning it was based on a play originally. Hadn't seen the play, but oftentimes, Meg Ryan had a hand in this. The person, Stephen Dietz, who had written the screenplay, had written the original play, helped on the screenplay. I thought it had potential at that point.
I was also really interested to see it. There's a few lines in the trailer that kind of gave me a hint, like it's subverting a rom-com. It's almost like you have this rom-com romance, but what happens when that falls apart?
Relax. You're already living out your worst case scenario.
What, being stuck here with you?
Yeah.
You make a good point.
What does that look like? So I thought that was kind of interesting.
And it's 20 years later, too, right?
Exactly.
It's not, we broke up last week. Oh, that's
bad.
That'd
too.
be a show. I really don't like you. I still don't like you. This was 20, 25 years later, and I laughed because they were talking about being in college, and that would make them younger than me at that point. So it kind of cracked me up. I'm like, I think they're a little bit older, so we kind of chuckled that they, de-aged themselves just a tiny bit. And there was some interesting dialogue. There were a few parts that there was some chuckling.
This behavior, this is exactly why we broke up.
So basically, my personality.
Okay, yes.
This is not at all how I imagine our reunion.
Oh, you imagine this?
Around different parts, the theater by no means was full, but there were little pockets of people that were watching it, and I laughed because I got the feeling that they grew up with Meg Ryan, or they really liked Meg Ryan too.
What's really interesting to see is how these movies skew audience-wise. We didn't have our full team with us. In fact, it was just the Box and Teresa and I representing Cocoon Cast, and the Box was the only man in the theater.
Literally, poor Box, right? All these women, you know, popcorn, everything, and the Box is like, oh, wow. I'm the only one. But I don't know that it was designed only for women, though.
And that's what I really appreciated, too. I appreciated the fact that we're looking into both characters' emotional landscapes. It's not heavily skewed towards one perspective.
That's a good
Even
point.
if you may come into this favoring one team over the other, I think they played it smart. It's pretty even-handed.
I appreciated the fact that even though the two of them had broken up 20, 25 years ago, there was no one clear bad guy in the situation. It was clearly, and the part that, yeah, I liked that men and women sometimes have difficulty communicating or don't quite communicate the same thing or get on the same page easily. And there was a misunderstanding, and there was I didn't know that, but that's what you said. I didn't know that. And it unfolded their relationship, the depth of their relationship. And you could see where a younger couple may not been able to navigate some of the challenges or some of the changes. At one point, Meg Ryan had said on, well, actually more than one occasion, I was just a kid. I was just a kid.
There's a lot of good little lines that kind of hit home for me, much like how Harry Met Sally writes these lines that feel very open and honest from personal experiences. There's one line that Meg Ryan says in the trailer that I really liked. It was one of the lines that actually sold me on wanting to see this movie is what you tell your partner when you break up, what you tell your friends when you break up, and what's the actual truth of when you break up.
When people break up, there's the thing that they tell each other, and then there's the truth that you never told me.
I was in love with you, and I couldn't turn that on and off like a switch.
I love that the movie was just scattered with little lines like this, but the lead up to them wasn't like, oh my gosh, she's going to say this great line now. It's just like that realization of, huh.
Well, and the acting was good. And like I said, you know, Mulder and Meg Ryan coming together. I'm still trying to wrap my little
The
brain
truth
around
is
that.
out there somewhere.
Yeah, right. Back to the breakups. But that's probably the foundation of such things. And the acting didn't get in the way for me. And as you said, there are a few lines. There are some parts that are predictable. It really did, in my mind, feel like just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at it. I mean, they talked about everything.
But Harry Met Sally kind of did the same thing too.
But it was lighter. This was, I mean, literally, I feel like I'm like in a therapy session for couples. I felt like I'm overhearing a conversation that I shouldn't be listening to, but I'm compelled because I'm listening to it because,
Nosy.
yeah, I didn't want to, I don't know. It just felt like too much.
Did it feel like you were people watching, but it was a movie, so it felt more awkward? Is that how you're saying this?
It felt more like it wasn't people watching and observing. It was, I feel like I need to intervene. I need to talk to these people. They need help, right? I need to give them a therapy card to, you know, get them to the nearest therapist because they really are having trouble. However, I don't disagree that when people break up, that it's clean, it's easy, and people come to their senses at some point, go, oh, okay, I have perspective around that. I just was, it was too much.
But I like that. That's one of the things I liked about this movie. It was not afraid to be messy.
Meg Ryan was not the nicey-nicey. There was a lot of language. At one point, there was, you know, mild drug use, talking about her relationships. She was not the America's sweetheart. She was a rougher around the edges Meg.
Here you have Meg Ryan's character trying to show David Duchovny's character that he doesn't have to be straight-laced, and he wasn't always this straight-laced in the past. And then you have David Duchovny's character showing Meg Ryan that it's okay to be grounded. It's okay to come back to earth and focus on things that are real and tangible in the moment.
That's an interesting point, actually, because it sounded like they concluded with the areas that they broke up around, meaning he was, Mr. Fun, and that may have worked against their relationship. Now he was more grounded, and she was actually appreciative of that. She was a little bit more flighty, and it sounds like he came to terms with that, and there was positive in that versus the differences that broke them up in some ways. Not the only thing, but there was an element to that.
I also like the fact that they acknowledged what broke them up, and it wasn't this huge tumultuous event. It was all these little things that added up to it. It felt painfully realistic, and I think that's why this movie really hit home for me as being good as it is for me.
Wow. I know this movie had a pretty lean budget of $3 million, and you had said you actually were surprised at that.
I was surprised how much this movie cost to make, given that it's a very minimal movie. You're not constantly distracted by new environments. There's probably only 3 or 4 set changes in the entire movie.
The movie takes place in an airport. You're right, different aspects of the airport, but they didn't leave. In fact, their box actually said, "Don't leave the airport." That makes sense.
I liked also how the movie gave framing to the characters and some of the music choices. I thought that was really smart. Every bit of dialogue you see in the trailer, you will see in the movie. And in fact, they use the music from the trailer in the movie. So I thought that was kind of cheeky.
Do we have any questions from the box?
This movie was translated from a play. How well do you think that worked?
I haven't seen the play. I haven't read the play, but I can feel the influence of play-like stage direction. I can feel the influence of play-like dialogue. Even the way that the characters interact with each other, it's a bit more out there than, say, your typical movie. In plays, the characters know that they have a limited time to convince you that they are who they say they are and give you the perspective that they're copying from.
That's a good point. And it did feel like a play to me. And as they were talking, right, they're looking into the camera. And as you said, they're kind of pleading their case. Like, this was my experience. This was my story. And it felt as if it was a play, but not in a distracting kind of a way, but just, as you said, the set direction. And a play would be very possibly a single set and not even changed in multiple ways. So I think that would be the other part, is one stage, one direction.
There's even some production choices and even some story elements. I know some of the multimedia elements that were present in the story, you could very easily see as being part of a play. Some of the announcement banners, some of even the stage directions for the characters.
No, I agree with that. Do we have any other questions from the box?
Most people are familiar with Meg's rom-coms. Rate this. Is it above, in the middle, or below those movies?
I think this is in the middle. I think this is a solid middle ground for her.
I don't think I liked it as much as you did. I liked it more than I thought I would. So that probably puts me in the middle too. But as you said, to me, the gold standard of Meg Ryan's rom-coms is When Harry Met Sally. I think that's the most memorable. But I do like her other ones with Tom Hanks. And I have a hard time. I have to go, is it because it wasn't Billy Crystal or it wasn't Tom Hanks? Is it because it feels like X-Files? I keep going back to that because I don't think David Duchovny is a poor actor. I just don't know if I would put him with her, and that became slightly distracting to me. And to me, together, it just, I don't know. I just didn't like it as much. Therefore, I would say, in my mind, it was below her earlier work.
So below Joe versus the volcano?
Oh, that's the word. Fine. Fine.
I know how much you don't like that one.
I the box, and I saw that in the theater, and I was so disappointed. I would say this is above Joe versus the volcano, as most movies are. Wow. So there's Joe versus the volcano, and then whoop, this one. Okay. See, I can't remember the name of it again. I'm like, oh, what happened before? What happened before? See, I'm good at this now.
What happens later?
Oh, it is. It is. What? See, I'm telling you, it's slightly forgettable to me. Yikes. All right, let's get some moths in before I forget the name of the movie one more time. 1 to 5 moths. Rebecca, how would you rate this?
This is 2 and a wing for me.
2 and a wing. Number one reason for the 2 and a wing.
I feel like this is the bones of a really good movie. compared to When Harry Met Sally, where you get to know a little bit of the characters' lives outside of it and you get to see them grow, I think you get to see them less. You only get to see these characters in satellite orbit next to each other.
And for what, 2 hours?
Yes.
And it's hard, but there was some growth, I will say,
There
between
was some growth,
the
but
25 years.
You're not having these characters bounce off other people. The other people almost feel like ghosts in the equation.
Well, and how many people were listed as actors and actresses? 3. The monitor voice, her, and him. That's it.
And those are the only people with dialogue.
That is
just to
true.
be clear, so those are the only people that are going to get the credit.
Who do you think this movie is not designed for, but who do you think would like this movie?
I think the audience that this is designed for is also the audience that this is going to land for most. I think this is your postmodern deconstruction of a rom-com that wants it to be reconstructed into something sweet.
Wow. Okay. 1 to 5 Moss, they're back. For me, I would say it's a 2. And I'm even doing this. It's a 2.
Tell me how you really feel.
I wanted to like it more, but there were a few lines that were funny. They did land. Like I said, the acting, I believe, was good. The intent was good. I love plays. It felt like a play. I appreciated that part. However, just throwing everything in was just excessive. And the chemistry was not compelling to me. It felt too long in addition to that.
So you're saying you felt really overwhelmed with this movie? I'm trying to understand.
No, I'm laughing. Yes, Dr. Rebecca, I did. It's funny. I like relational stories. I like growth. I like backstories. I like all of those things. However, it just, it felt like too much to cover. If I hadn't seen somebody in 20, 25 years, I'm not sure in 2 hours we would cover everything about our relationship, our current, and here's what our future looks like. I'm like, wow, that's pretty ambitious.
I do want to point out that this movie takes place over the course of a day. The movie itself is 2 hours, though.
Oh, that's all right. That's a good point. It's a leap year. There's the whole story about the leap year. All right, that's a good point. However, they did fall asleep a few times.
It's very exhausting having these emotional conversations after 25 years.
I just don't know how accurate that would be. And it's not that it has to, there is a certain part, and they even talk about that, right? Suspending reality. There's a little bit of the magical piece to it. But it didn't feel magical in a sweet and endearing way. It felt as if...
Magical in a contrived way?
Well, we need to make sense of this, so we'll do some little magic going on over here. It just didn't land for me. Although I do think people of my generation and possibly older would enjoy this movie. I just don't know if I was the one. And I actually thought, oh, hey, I'm probably kind of their target audience. I'll probably really enjoy this. And I just didn't.
If you enjoyed our review on What Happens Later, please like, which helps more viewers find our cinema community, and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming reviews, and please share with your friends.
Rebecca, it is that time of the show to talk about who we are not sponsored by.
Oh, no, we're still not sponsored?
Actually, no.
Oh, boy.
Today, we're not sponsored by Samsonite International.
You mean the guy that held up the temple as it was falling, or?
Actually, kind of. Funny you should ask. Well, let's talk about who Samsonite International is before we get to the exciting origin story of Samsonite. Do you know that Samsonite makes luggage?
No, I didn't know that, but I know they make computer cases. That's what I know them from.
They actually do. Let's talk about it. They are huge. They have 14,500 employees.
That's a lot of employees.
That's a lot of luggage. And you're right, though. They do make suitcases. They make briefcases. Big ones, little toiletry cases, small ones, big ones, large ones.
I guess you could say they're on the case.
Wow. That would be a great ad. They make spinner luggage, the ones you put in your woo when you're in the airport and you're like trying to maneuver which way it goes.
Oh, those are so annoying.
They actually pretty much like them. If you check them out, they actually sell a lot of those.
Oof.
The carry-ons, the backpacks, the business bags, which are briefcases, and like you're talking about the laptop cases, totes and duffels. And in case you didn't forget, or in case you forgot something, they have luggage accessories.
Ooh.
Little dividers and little, yeah. So little add-ons just in case.
Do they make those little fluffy balls you can put on your suitcase so you know which one it is?
I don't think so. I think we have to buy those.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
historically, so you can find your luggage in the little carousel. They're not that catchy.
Oh, okay.
I find them fascinating. They started in Denver, Colorado, back in the day in 1910.
That is quite back in the day.
That's back in the day. That's like before my dad was. I think that's like my grandmother's age.
Maybe we'll find some Samsonite luggage in her house or something.
Ooh. They're interesting because they were founded in 1910 by Jesse Schrader. And ask me who Jesse is.
Who is Jesse?
Jesse was a religious man. You were talking about Samson in the Bible, right? The holding up the whole temple so things don't crash down in the flowy hair. Remember the flowy hair?
The original Raise the Roof guy.
Yeah, exactly. That was him. And he wanted a name that would convey strong and therefore Samsonite. Ooh, I thought that was fascinating. 1941, he came up with vulcanized fiber for
Live
his
long and carry a suitcase.
Live long and prosper.
Exactly. 1939. This is what he's doing. In 1965, the year of one of my brothers, Samsonite suitcases became the best-selling product, and then they changed the name to Samsonite, which we know. We talked about number of employees. Crazy, right? Over 14,000. They actually, I laugh, they used to make folding card tables and the chairs. And I know the Boxes family had some, several aunts and uncles had them. My parents had them. I would love to go back and go, oh my gosh, were they Samsonite? Because we had Samsonite luggage up in the top shelf. We had the little blue suitcases, and they were hardcore. You could drop them, pound them. And
Next here tonight, we've all seen our bags come back banged and battered after an airplane trip. Well, tonight we have some video shot by a kind of citizen patrol. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis shows us what one man caught on his camera.
Imagine seeing this happening to your luggage.
Okay, watch the bag. There you go.
Take a look as the Air Canada handler hurls the bags right down a flight of stairs.
Oh, good thing my computer's in there.
This passenger caught them in the act, and now Air Canada is apologizing, saying it's not the way they do business.
We don't expect that as the paying public.
And it's not the first time airport handlers have been captured behaving badly. Police say the airport worker on this surveillance tape spent 8 months stealing passenger stuff. His total haul, nearly $85,000.
of course, my brother and I went, ooh, check those out. Then, and I don't know if you remember this, but in 1993, slightly before you were born, they had this whole ad campaign with a bunch of apes.
Dear clumsy bellboys, brutal cab drivers, careless doormen, ruthless porters, savage baggage masters, and all butterfingered luggage handlers all over the world. Have we got a suitcase for you?
It's quite an endorsement for your product.
You feel really confident. And how often does that happen? However, you've flown, right, nationally, internationally. You know how these things can go. You know what your luggage could look like after quite
I've
a
had
long
some
trip.
Experiences.
Yeah. So if you think about an ape jumping up and down on it, you're like, that might actually be something.
Yep. Sorry, I'm just stuck on the visual of a giant gorilla just going woo, 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 on the suitcase.
Exactly. And nothing happens.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. And this was originally their American Tourister line. And over time, American Tourister sold over to Samsonite. And, that was kind of their lesser brand, which is kind of funny. They're a more affordable brand as they are. Based on the movie we just saw, the one I keep forgetting the name of.
What happens later?
What happens later? Everything is about luggage. We see different people traveling. We see Meg Ryan's character traveling. We see David Duchovny's character. Everybody has luggage. You would think Samsonite would be, hey, we want to sponsor you. We can put our name. We can have a big gorilla in the back jumping on. Cocoon Cast is our people. We want them to sponsor us. And what do you think they said?
Nope.
No dice. As much as we appreciate a big gorilla jumping on your luggage, we're happy to talk about your product. They don't want to sponsor us. So thank you for not sponsoring us, even though we tried.
It's that time in the show where we want to hear from you. We'd love to see you standing outside your favorite movie theater with your cinema community. Please send your photo to hello@cocooncast.com. Be sure to tell us who you are, what movie you're going to see, so you can show our community your cinema spirit. Now let's talk about some of the cool comments we've been getting, Teresa.
All right, let's start out with Gay Latino Bear commented on our short of Five Nights at Freddy's. Here's what he said. Don't know who y'all are, but love the delivery. He subbed. Wow, we have a new subscriber.
I think that's always awesome. We love hearing when you guys subscribe because then that tells us what kind of content you're looking forward to as a cinema community.
Well, and I love the fact he doesn't know who we are. He's now learning who we are. That's pretty terrific. So thank you very much. We're glad to have you. Welcome to the cinema community.
Next up, we have Sinatra Gays commenting on our short of Five Nights at Freddy's. Here's what they said. It's not that scary, and it handled not being that scary very well. It's a great movie with new lore to study. I loved it. I agree. I think the lore is a good place to start with this movie, and I think that's what it did well. That being said, I don't think it handled the not scary part well, but there is an audience for not scary movies, and I think this movie fits in there quite nicely.
I think I'm that audience. Finally, we have J Typad commented on a short of Five Nights at Freddy. Here's what they said. Hi. Right back at you. Well, somebody's being friendly in our cinema community. I would love to hear more from J Typad.
And that goes for everybody in our comment section. We love seeing familiar faces and getting to know you as part of our cinema community, and also seeing new faces. Come on board.
We're not that scary.
We're not as scary as Freddy, apparently.
Yeah, apparently not. If you can handle Freddy, you can handle us. Now it's time for some Hollywood news. Rebecca, what's going on out there?
If I had to do a biopic based on HBO at this particular moment in time, I would call it Revenge of the Sock Puppet. Move over, David Zaslav. You've got company. Casey Bloys is taking credit for sock puppeting several TV critics.
And I'm doing this because this is what I'm thinking. This is the Revenge of the Sock Puppet.
You're pretty close, actually.
Oh.
The term sock puppeting refers to propping up something with an alternate account. It's usually not easily attributed to whoever's being the sock puppet. In this case, there's an identity of a Texan vegan mom at stake.
Wow. Oh, okay. So that's the fake ID.
That's the fake ID. That would be the sock puppet in this case. Yes.
So I'm still stuck on the sock puppet doing this. And tell me where you're reading this from so I can understand a little bit more.
We received this article from Jennifer Bloss at Variety. She was reporting about an article featured in Rolling Stone. Now, Casey is trying to get ahead of the narrative on this article. This article alleges that his former assistant was forced to write anonymous comments on deadlines, specifically targeting people who did not like HBO products and or programming.
And so it's not even this person. He's not even the author. He's having his assistant do this.
Oh, no. So he's personally is taking credit for 6 tweets he wrote. But
he's taking credit for it. It's like, woohoo! Woohoo! Sounds like he shouldn't be so proud of this.
I would not be proud of this. This, in fact, I'm going to give you a direct quote about this.
Wow.
I want the shows to be great. I want people to love them. I want you all to love them. So when you think of that mindset and think of 2020 and 2021, I'm home, working from home and spending an unhealthy amount of time scrolling through Twitter. And I come up with a very, very dumb idea to vent my frustration. This is not just a dumb idea. This is a cocktail of stupid.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel. Well, and I don't even hear an apology in this one. I hear, well, here's what I did.
I definitely don't hear an apology with this. I hear, quote, I've progressed over the last couple years to using DMs. So now when I take issue with something to review, I DM many of you, and many of you are gracious enough to engage with me in a back and forth. I think that is probably a much healthier way to go about this, but we'll talk about that. You guys can ask me anything you want in the Q&A. I just want to put this out there. Total PR sweep. Total PR sweep. That's how this reads to me.
Well, and I have to wonder if it weren't coming out, would he volunteer the information?
That's what I'm concerned about. I know HBO has come under fire a lot for their products not being as good as they used to be. With very few exceptions. And as somebody who enjoys film, this kind of disturbs me because now some of my favorite directors won't want to work with HBO. It kind of shunters them away, and it gives them less of an audience to appeal to.
Wow. Do we have any questions from the box?
Should CEOs be allowed to anonymously comment on their company's products?
I don't think so. I think once you're a CEO, that right for anonymity is lost. It is gone. You are the face of the company, so now you have to own up to this.
Well, and I don't think he would be so incensed if he were to put himself out there.
No. If he was genuinely honest and saying, this is me, this is my personal X account.
Sure. Yeah.
I still have to get used to that. That's still strange for me. If this is my personal account, I would own up to it. I see directors, I see producers, I see actors coming under fire, responding to fans. But you know what? It's genuinely them. It's them being real, and it's tied to them.
I agree that they will get different feedback, perhaps, if the name is out there, meaning it's a name that people know, directors, producers. However, 6 accounts.
6 tweets.
6 tweets. I don't know if he's going to get the information he needs. And honestly, how insulting to the vegan Texas mom out there. It's like, come on.
Well, it's a fake account purporting to be a vegan Texas mom. At the time of this writing, according to the article on Variety, the account is still active, but the tweets are gone.
Wow. I wonder if it would be used again under such circumstances in terms of, oh, I'm working on another project. It's not gone.
I wonder if somebody's going to end up taking the name as a parody account. I think that would be really funny.
Oh my. Well, it sounds like sock puppeting now that I understand it more. Thank you. Doesn't sound like that's going away anytime soon.
I really thought this was going to go away, I would say in the mid-2000s, but it just feels more insidious now, especially when you're hiring your own employees to do sock puppeting. I've heard about this in the beauty space, but to do this in the film space, it's still disgraceful.
The word desperate comes to mind.
Thank you.
I was going to say, would that sound accurate to you? Because to me, it's, why are you so desperate in chat? As you said, other people, other directors, other people may not want to work with HBO as a result of that. And I don't know if we're blowing it out of proportion, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels as if this is a problem. We're highlighting that, we're spotlighting that for the very reason that what you're trying to do will backfire.
The other thing I want to point out is HBO has legions of dedicated fans. If you're so invested in this, maybe enlist their help. And I'm not saying have a concentrated campaign targeting the authors of these reviews. I would say, hey, this has been brought up in a lot of reviews. What's your guys' take? Create organic feedback.
In research, we talk about focus groups, obviously marketing and different products and things. But focus groups are oftentimes part of academic research, product. That's a reasonable way to get feedback in my mind. Also, people that you know and trust, maybe you're not putting it out there on a public platform, but you're bringing, like you said, allies or people that know you, know the show and that sort of thing, and you ask them honest questions. Please give me feedback. There are alternate ways, and I think that's what you're saying.
There are, and I want to say this because I love film so much. The reason I love film so much is it's an art form that you can tangibly react to. It's an art form that takes the mirror inside each person and they each come up with something different. I think that this is kind of muting the desire to share this with other people.
And what else is going on out there, Rebecca?
Speaking of things getting bigger, IMAX is getting bigger. Wow. And we don't mean the screen size.
Wow, let's talk about that. What's going on?
For our international cinema community, Deadline is reporting via Nancy Tarlingham that EVT is teaming up with IMAX to have a new screen in Sydney and 4 additional screens in Germany.
Wow, that's pretty exciting.
I'm especially excited for our Australian cinema community because the IMAX Sydney location is the highest grossing location outside of the US and UK, so they're actively invested into putting more screens in Australia.
Wow, I did not know that. That's huge.
1 month they've been able to do this.
Holy cow, that's huge. And we like IMAX.
We love IMAX.
Yes. In Germany too?
Germany too. Germany has 4 additional locations. In fact, the chief CEO of IMAX has specifically said the demand in Germany is outstripping the resources that they have there.
Wow. And as you said, this is huge.
This is huge. This is the biggest deal that they've had outside of the country specifically for Germany.
Wow. Do we have any questions from the box?
Dolby Cinema and IMAX are both premium formats. However, it appears IMAX has more brand recognition. Why do you think that is?
I think the marketing problem that Dolby has is they feel like comfy seats with just good sound. I think IMAX is known for big, for overblowing it, if you will. They've got a bigger screen, they've got more sound, and then they got the comfy seats.
I personally think Dolby Cinema seats are more comfortable. However, I agree with you. IMAX is an all-encompassing experience. To me, they're very different, and it's hard, honestly, in my opinion, to compare the two.
I think not only is IMAX and Dolby different, I think the screen size and frame ratio of IMAX give it a different experience for the audience as well.
I would totally agree with that. Thanks for joining us this week. We're always excited to create experiences to bring our cinema community together.
Next week, we are excited to be reviewing The Marvels and on our Movies and More weekly show, The Holdovers.
Please remember to like, subscribe, and to share our channel.
If you enjoyed this show, you might want to check out last week where we reviewed Anatomy of a Fall, and on our Movies and More weekly show, we reviewed Retro Rewind, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Remember, cinema community, movies are better together. Thanks for watching. See you in the next review.